Aegon had been proclaimed king in the Dragon Pit, Rhaenyra queen on Dragonstone. All efforts at reconciliation have failed. The Dance of the Dragons now began in earnest. On Driftmark, the sea snake ship set sail from Hull and Spicetown to close the gullet, choking off trade to and from King's Landing. Soon after, Viserys was flying north upon his dragon Vermax, his brother Viserys south on Arax, while Prince Daemon flew Caraxes to the Trident. So let us now turn to Harrenhal. Though large parts of Harren the Black's great fortress was now in ruins, the castle's towering curtain walls still made it a formidable stronghold as any other in the Riverlands. But Aegon the Conqueror and his dragons had proved it vulnerable from the sky. With its lord Larys Strong away in King's Landing, the castle was lightly garrisoned. Having no wish to suffer the same fate as Harren the Black, its elderly Castellan, Sir Simon Strong, was quick to strike its banners when Caraxes lighted atop the King's Spire Tower. In addition to the castle, Prince Daemon, at a stroke, had captured the not inconsiderable wealth of House Strong and a dozen valuable hostages, amongst them Simon Strong and his grandsons. The castle's small folk became his captives as well, among them a wet nurse named Alys Rivers. Who was this woman? A serving wench who dabbled in potions and spells, says Munkin. A woods witch claimed Septon Eustace. A malign enchantress who bathed in the blood of virgins to preserve her youth, Mushroom would have us believe. But her name suggests a bastard's birth, but we know little of her father and even less of her mother. Monkkin and Eustace tell us that she was sired by Lord Lionel Strong in his callow youth, making her a natural half-sister to his sons, Harwin and Larys. But Mushroom insists that she was much older, that she was a wet nurse to both boys, perhaps even to their father a generation earlier. Though her own children had all been stillborn, the milk that flowed so abundantly from Alys Rivers had nourished countless babes born of other women at Harrenhal. Was she a true witch who lay with demons, bringing forth dead children as payment for the knowledge they gave her? A wanton who used their poisons and potions to bind men to her body and soul? Alys Rivers was at least 40 years of age during the Dance of the Dragons. That much is known. Mushroom makes her even older. All agreed that she looked younger than her years, but whether this was simply happenstance or achieved through the practice of dark arts, men continue to dispute to this day. Whatever her powers were, it seemed that Daemon Targaryen was immune to them, for little is heard of the supposed sorceress while the prince was at Harrenhal. The sudden, bloodless fall of Harren the Black's seat was counted a great victory for Queen Rhaenyra, and it served as a sharp reminder of the martial powers of Prince Daemon and the power of Caraxes the Bloodworm, and gave the queen a stronghold in the heart of Westeros, to which her supporters could rally, and Rhaenyra had many such in the lands watered by the Trident. When Prince Daemon sent forth his call to arms, they rose up along the rivers, knights and men-at-arms, and humble peasants who yet remembered the realm's delight, so beloved of her father, and the way she smiled and charmed them as she made her progress through the Riverlands in her youth. Hundreds and then thousands buckled on their sword belts and donned their mail, or grabbed a pitchfork or a hoe and a crude wooden shield and began to make their way to Harrenhal to fight for Viserys' little girl. The lords of the Trident, having more to lose, were not so quick to move, but soon enough they too began to throw their lot in with the queen. From the twins rode Sir Forrest Frey, the very same fool Frey who had once begged Rhaenyra's hand. Lord Samwell Blackwood, who had once lost a duel for her favour, raised Rhaenyra's banner over Raventree. Sir Amos Bracken, who had won that duel, followed his lord father when House Bracken declared for Aegon. The Mootons of Maidenpool, the Pipers of Pinkmaiden Castle, the Roots of Harroway, and the Darries of Darry, the Mallisters of Seaguard, and the Vances of Wayfarer's Rest, all announced their support for Rhaenyra. Peter Piper, the grizzled lord of Pinkmaiden, spoke for many when he said, "I swore her my sword. I'm older now, but not so old that I've forgotten the words I said, and it happens I still have the sword." The Lord Paramount of the Trident, Grover Tully, had been an old man even at the Great Council of 101, where he spoke for Prince Viserys. Though now failing, he was no less stubborn. He had favoured the rights of the male claimants in 101, and the years had not changed his view. Lord Grover insisted that Riverrun would fight for King Aegon, yet no such word went forth. The old lord was bedridden and would not live much longer, Riverrun's maesters declared. "I would sooner the rest of us did not die with him," declared Sir Elmo Tully, his grandson. Riverrun had no defence against dragonfire, he pointed out, and both sides in this fight rode dragons. And so, while Lord Grover was on his deathbed, Riverrun barred its gates, manned its walls, and held its silence. Meanwhile, a very different story was playing out to the east, where Jacaerys Velaryon descended upon the Eyrie on his young dragon Vermax to win the Vale of Arryn for his mother. The Maiden of the Vale, Lady Jane Arryn, was 35, 20 years his senior. Never wed, Lady Jane had reigned over the Vale since the death of her father and elder brothers at the hands of the Stonecrows of the hills. Mushroom tells us that this famous maiden was in truth a high-born harlot with an appetite for men, and gives us a salacious tale of how she offered Prince Jacaerys allegiance to the Vale only if he bedded her. her. Septon Eustace repeats the widespread rumour that Jane Arryn preferred the intimate companionship of other women, then goes on to say it was not true. In this instance, we must be grateful for Grand Maester Munkin's true telling, but he alone confines himself to the High Hall of the Eyrie, rather than the bedchambers. 3 times has my own kin sought to replace me, Lady Jane told the prince. My cousin Sir Arnold is wont to say that women are too soft to rule. I have him in one of my sky cells, if you would like to ask them. Your Prince Daemon used his first wife most cruelly, it is true, but notwithstanding your mother's poor taste in consort, she remains our rightful queen, and my own blood beside, and Arryn on her mother's side. In this world of men, we women must band together. The Vale and its knights shall stand with her, if her grace will grant me one request. When the prince asked what that might be, she answered, dragons. I have no fear of armies. Many and more have broken themselves against my bloody gate, and the Eyrie is known to be impregnable, but you had descended on us from the sky, as Queen Rhaenyra once did during the conquest, and I was powerless to halt you. I must like feeling powerless. Send me dragon riders. And so the prince agreed, and Lady Jane knelt before him, and bade her warriors to kneel, and all swore him their swords. Then on, Jacaerys soared north, crossed the Fingers and the waters of the Bight. He landed briefly at Sisterton, where Lord Borrell and Lord Sunderland pledged him the support of the 3 sisters. Then he flew on to White Harbour, where Lord Desmond Manderley met with him in his merman's court. Here the prince faced a shrewder bargainer. White Harbour is not unsympathetic to your mother's plight, Manderley declared. My own forebears were despoiled of their birthright when our enemies drove us into exile on these cold northern shores. When the old king visited us so long ago, he spoke of the wrong that had been done to us, and promised to make it right. In pledge of that, his grace offered the hand of his daughter, Princess Viserys, to my great-grandsire, that our 2 houses might be made one. But the girl died, and the promise was forgotten. Prince Jacaerys knew what was being asked of him. Before he left White Harbour, a compact was drawn up and signed, by the terms of which Lord Manderley's youngest daughter would be wed to the prince's brother, Joffrey, once the war was over. It was now that Jacaerys Velaryon turned his eyes further north to the Starks of Winterfell.